Hi friends, today we are going to discuss the simplified supportive care triangle in COVID-19 treatment. Now what is this simplified? Simplified means whatever we are going to discuss today is applicable to low resource settings where the ventilator is not available, HFNC is not available, and we are finding difficult to oxygenate patients. Even if they are not available, we are finding difficult to optimize the oxygenation. So what is this treatment triangle? This treatment triangle is based on three basic principles in supportive care. What are these basic principles? First principle is optimizing oxygenation. Now this optimizing means what? Traditionally, what we used to do is we want some saturation. And to get the saturation, what we do is we change the flow. This is flow meter. And we keep on increasing 5 liter, 10 liter, 15 liter or something. But physiologically, flow is not related with oxygenation directly. Flow is not the currency. FiO2 is the currency. What is FiO2? It is a fraction of inspired oxygen in the gas. Room air contains 21%. This cylinder contains nearly 100%. So FiO2 is currency, not flow. I will give an example to you. Suppose if you go to some shop and you want to buy a chocolate and you are giving 5 coins to the shop owner, ask for chocolate. He may not give or he may give. That means the number of coins which are giving is not the currency, number of rupees is the currency. The 5 coins can say 5 rupees, it can be 10 rupees, it can be anything else. So don't go by flow but go by FiO2. Why it is important in COVID-19 is a disease of oxidation issue. And trying to treat the oxidation issue by only flow adjustment sometimes can backfire. How it can backfire? Suppose if we are using this usual mask. In this usual mask, we keep on increasing the flow. And sometimes in tachypneic patients, they themselves reduce their FiO2, they become hypoxic. It leads to premature shifting to higher support system like HFNC or non-invasive ventilation. This is non-rebreathing mask. This non-rebreathing mask can give very high FiO2. It can mask the respiratory failure. So solution for this problem comes up with this Venturi mask. Venturi mask where we can have color-coded adapters by which we can actually accurately adjust the FiO2 of the delivered gas. So this is the optimizing oxygenation. This my colleague Dr. Geeta will explain to you in detail. Second part we are going to highlight is importance of rest. Rest can't be overemphasized because in this pandemic we are realized there are instances when the patient is actually, this is not a patient, this is volunteer, but this patient improves and then deteriorates because of one trivial reason. One trivial reason can be this phone. These patients, they keep on talking on phone for a long time and they suddenly collapse. It has been observed. Sometimes they want to eat and when they are eating, they actually go for collapse. They remove all this oxygen system and they eat, they drink water and they collapse. Third system is sometimes they go for bathroom and when they come back, so sometimes then they come back, they are actually in a very bad shape, very difficult to revive afterwards. So how to give this rest? This rest is not musculoskeletal rest. It is the cardiorespiratory rest that we discuss briefly. And third and last is we discuss about optimizing hydration of these patients. So first of all, we'll go for optimizing oxygenation by creating various scenarios where we are using normal mask, where you are non-rebreathing mask, and how to optimize it by using this Venturi mask.
In this video, we are going to see different respiratory conditions or different clinical condition and what is going to be the effect of various oxygen delivery devices. As an example, in the first case, we take a post-operative adult patient. This patient is in the post-operative surgical ward and his respiratory assessment shows that he is breathing at a rate of 25 per minute and the effort of breathing is normal. His saturation is around 84%. And in this case, he is breathing slowly and at a lesser volume because of his pain and fatigue. The first response in this situation will be to start a face mask oxygen. and in this patient the minute ventilation of the patient, which is the respiratory rate times the tidal volume, is normal. And I'm going to start a face mask oxygen at 5 liters per minute. Slowly with time his breathing efforts are going to get better, the rate is going to improve, and the saturation is also improving. In this situation the FiO2 which he gets approximately is around 35% at a flow rate of 5 liters per minute. When we slowly increase this flow rate by 1 liter per minute, then the FiO2 approximately increases by 4%. This mask should be a tight fitting one for this approximate FiO2 delivery. The second situation changes where we have a patient with a lower respiratory tract infection. Here his respiratory assessment shows a respiratory rate of 40% and there is increase in the effort of breathing. He has retractions and nasal flaring and his saturation is again 85%. This situation his minute ventilation is 2 to 3 times his usual. The normal adult minute ventilation is between 5 to 6 liters. Here his respiratory rate is more and hence his minute ventilation is going to increase. So we will see what happens when we apply this face mask with a 5 liters per minute O2. Continue breathing. His respiratory distress continues to be the same and with time his distress worsens. What happens here is, because his minute ventilation is more, the flow is more than the 5 liters per minute oxygen which we are delivering. A normal 5 liter minute ventilation here becomes 15 to 20 liters. So this 5 liter flow is not sufficient for him. What happens is, there are entrapment ports on this face mask. To meet his increased demand, atmospheric air gets into the face mask through these entrapment ports. That's why the FiO2 which we expect in a normal patient to be delivered is around 35%. But because the room air enters inside the face mask in a patient with higher ventilation, the FiO2 drops, causing and worsening in his respiratory distress, and his saturation has dropped. Just by increasing the flow from 5 liters to 10 liters does not help in taking care of his respiratory distress and his saturation. So this mode of oxygen delivery device is not the appropriate one in this condition. In case, because he continues to have a lower saturation and persisting distress, if we decide to go on to a non-rebreathing mask. When we use this non-rebreathing mask, which is a high flow device, we keep the flow at 15 liters per minute and start him on NRM. Just the non-rebreathing mask. What happens here is, a non-rebreathing mask which is tight fitting can deliver somewhere between 90 to 100% of FiO2. But this FiO2 delivery is not measurable and it can change based on the fit. And this high FiO2 for a longer time is not good for any patient with a respiratory tract infection. So in this situation, a face mask which is going to have a lower FiO2 or a non-rebreathing mask which is going to deliver a higher FiO2, both are not good in this situation. So we have to choose an appropriate oxygen delivery device with which we can titrate the FiO2, which is the fraction inspired oxygen. This is the Venturi mask. It comes with different color coded adapters. This is a high flow device or a fixed performance oxygen delivery device. This mask works on the principle of Bernoulli's phenomenon. What happens here is, this is a narrow port. When a high flow of oxygen passes through the narrow port, the pressure at that point decreases. When the pressure decreases, it is going to suck in the atmospheric air through the entrapment ports and then deliver a fixed FiO2. Different color adapters have different color ports. These are the entrapment ports, and this blue color adapter is going to deliver an FiO2 of 24%. This green color adapter is going to deliver an FiO2 of 60% here, because the size of entrapment ports is smaller, so that less amount of atmospheric air enters the patient oxygen delivery system. So when we choose to give a FiO2 directed oxygen therapy, we choose either a 31% or 35% FiO2 delivery adapter based on the clinical condition. Now he is breathing at a rate of 40 per minute and his saturation is 85. In that case, I prefer to choose an oxygen delivery device which is going to deliver a FiO2 of 35%. This yellow color one is the 35% FiO2 delivery adapter. The FiO2 which the adapter is going to deliver and the flow which we have to set on the flow meter is labeled on the color coded adapter itself. I am going to choose the 35% FiO2. I am fixing the adapter to this mask and connect the oxygen source in this end. This yellow color adapter, to deliver an FiO2, I have to set up a flow of 8 liters on the flow meter. Continue breathing high. So what happens is, if this FiO2 requirement is sufficient for his respiratory or lung condition, his respiratory rate and the work of breathing is going to decrease and his saturation is slowly going to improve. So we now see the saturation slowly improves and the respiratory rate is expected to come down. The contrary can also happen. If with this 35% FiO2 he continues to have an increased breathing, increased respiratory rate and increased work of breathing and a fluctuating saturations below 85%, then it is advisable to go up on the FiO2. This red color adapter is going to deliver an FiO2 of 40% and the green color is going to deliver an FiO2 of 60%. The flow which we have to set for each FiO2 adapters are given and has to be changed on the flow meter.
Just now we saw the optimal use of this Venturi mask with connector, which can give you accurate FiO2 during this oxygen delivery. This is a very cost effective device. It costs only 350 rupees. It is available in almost all places all over the world. So now we touch upon importance of rest. Rest is of two types. One is bed rest, second is cardiorespiratory rest. It has been observed that these patients, when they are oxygen dependent or even if they come out of oxygen therapy, they deteriorate rapidly after predominantly doing three activities. One is visit to the bathroom, second is having food, and third is after talking on phone. Why it happens? First of all, we'll see visit to bathroom, restroom. So they remove the oxygen, they go to bathroom, they strain during passing motion. During passing motion, whatever the activities and pressure changes, they are exactly parallel to Valsalva maneuver. What we do in Valsalva maneuver, we close the airway and we try to exhale forcibly. During this forcible exhalation, expiration, the intra-abdominal pressure increases, intrathoracic pressure increases. What is the effect of this increased pressure on heart? It has been observed that this COVID-19 disease also affects heart. Almost 10 to 15% of these patients are having associated ventricular dysfunctions. Right ventricular dysfunction as well as left ventricular dysfunction. Out of them, most dangerous is left ventricular diastolic dysfunction. So, if a patient is doing Valsalva-like picture and he is having straining during motion, the left ventricular filling can drastically come down, leading to reduced cardiac output rapidly. It affects two organs. It can go for syncopal attack or it can go for myocardial infarction. They are found collapsed or they are found in cardiac arrest, and simultaneously their oxygen requirement goes up. So why it happens? Because we are actually trying to generate more pressure. So this can be avoided by a simple patient education. What patient education we can give? One is, don't go for restroom unnecessarily. If possible, we can provide this oxygen therapy near restroom, inside pipeline, and try to maintain ongoing oxygenation while visit to restroom also. Or if sufficient manpower is available, we can use bedpan on the bed. Patients should be told not to strain unnecessarily too much. If after straining a stool, if the patient is feeling giddy or is having chest pain, stop it, because that particular activity can lead to unfortunate collapse. This particular patient suppose goes to restroom and collapses and becomes hypoxic. Never resuscitate the patient in a sitting position. Resuscitate the patient in supine position so that adequate blood supply to brain can be maintained. So this is the first position, activity. Second activity, similar activity, what we come across is phone. Talk on phone. So this patient is improved from this acute illness and is talking on phone long time, socializing with his friends, and he is having laughing also. So that particular activity creates a similar picture, that is forceful expiration with partly closed airway. Again there is increased intrathoracic pressure. Again there is reduction in left ventricular diastolic filling and again worsening. So we have to tell the patient that don't talk too much on phone, don't talk long time, don't laugh on phone, limit the use of these mobile phones. Please take it, put it. Third thing what we observed is food. These patients are quite alert and they are quite active and they ask for food. Relatives also bring food, and at that particular time what we observed is they remove the non-invasive mask, they remove all the oxygen support, they eat, they become hypoxic and they collapse. One reason behind it is interruption in oxygen delivery. Second reason is these patients associated having neurological dysfunction. This neurological dysfunction leads to difficulty in swallowing. They are having some amount of cranial nerve dysfunction, so they can aspirate. Many patients are aspirated and actually expired. So train the patient, educate the patient that food is important but not that important as per your life. So alternatively, we can put them on tube feeding, we can put them on IV fluids, maintenance IV fluids, and even if they are eating, try to maintain the oxygenation simultaneously. If they are having difficulty in swallowing, ask them to inform the sister and avoid drinking large volumes of milk or large amount of food. So these are the three important patient educations we can impart. In summary, don't strain, try to provide oxygen during visit to restroom, don't talk on phone for long time, don't laugh loudly, and don't eat if it is affecting saturation and it is causing difficulty in swallowing and aspiration. So now we are going to touch upon third part of this presentation, that is maintenance of optimal hydration. Now this optimal hydration means what? Adequate amount of water in body? No, it is about adequate blood supply to the tissues. According to some emerging theories, there is microcirculation problem. This microcirculation problem means active parts of body, that is brain, heart, adrenals, active parts of body, they receive more blood supply. Less active, they receive less blood supply, and that is controlled by pericytes. Now these patients are not having any signs of shock, not having any signs of dehydration, but they can have tissue hypoxia, tissue ischemia, and that can exaggerate in case of extra demand. So it is very important to see for microcirculation problem or tissue hypoxia ischemia or subclinical hypovolemia. These words look very complicated, but it is not as complicated as it looks. What are the signs? Signs are very simple. Tachycardia at rest. tachycardia increasing after activity, urine color being high colored, slight oliguria, intense weakness, lactate going up, and inflammatory markers going up. So these are the warning signs that these patients may have subclinical hypovolemia. So don't allow them to become dry. To keep them adequately hydrated, urine color should be all right, heart rate behavior should be all right, they should not feel weak. So there are two options, either they can take orally or we can put them on IV fluids. So in summary, in this video we have covered the simplified therapeutic triangle for COVID-19. First of all is optimal oxygenation by using simple and effective tool, that is Venturi mask with appropriate size color coded adapters. Second, we thought about 3 activities: phone, food, and visit to bathroom, patient education. And third, we saw optimal hydration. So with this, we hope that even if you don't have complex gadgets, complex systems, still we can actually reduce this unexpected, unfortunate worsening of these patients. And we hope that as a team, we'll work together, and for that this is our initiative taken by our Rainbow Children Hospital to educate maximum number of healthcare workers as well as patients in optimizing outcome in COVID-19. Thank you.